to adopt policy GBCA, protection of criminal background information.
Nope.
Well, that's what's on mine.
Consider approval of revisions to policy GAE.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I'm going by what's on my computer.
yeah, so
Uh-huh. Oh,
mine says GAE.
where'd you go? Same thing, I'll just read
Call
it
us
off
to
here.
order?
No?
Here's the agenda.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Did we do roll call?
Consider approval of the revision to policy GAE, non-Title IX complaints and grievances. Dr. Fussell.
Yes, ma'am. Again, I'll be attempting to do my best impersonation of Dr. Fussell.
You already have 2 strikes.
I already have 2 strikes, so I'm going to be careful. I'm going to choke up and swing. What we are proposing to you is that we'd like to add another step, another level of being able to solve an issue before it comes to the board. And what we are recommending is on step 3, is after, or step 2 is it goes to the immediate supervisor of the individual. Step 3, it would go to the director of that particular immediate supervisor. So let's say if it's a complaint against the principal, it would go to the principal's supervisor on step 2. Step 3, it would go to the director of academics to try to resolve. So that's the major proposal there. On step 4, where it has the first decision at 2 and then the second receipt of step 2 decision, that needs to be decision at 3 and receipt of step 3 decision.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but for the,
Motion in order.
yeah, move to adopt the administration's recommendation.
Second.
And just while we're talking about this, for the benefit of anybody that may want to watch this, because it makes it sound like that we're making this process more complicated. But could you address that, and I guess specifically talk about some things that we're doing electronically or technology-wise to try to simplify this process, and then also talk about the position that we've created. I don't know what we're calling it, a family advocate or a grievance procedure advocate, somebody that we're going to make available specifically to help guide families through this grievance procedure going forward.
Yes, sir. The discussion is when you go to our website and you can, in the search bar, if you put complaint or grievance, it will bring you to a page, and then you can select the school, the site that you have the concern. Let's say if it's, again, since we're in Amite, we'll say Amite Elementary. If there's a reason, I click Amite Elementary, I fill out the information on that particular site. We're going to ask you for, what the issue is. Give me some contact information, whether it's an email and a phone number. You hit submit. When I hit submit, it goes to a group of individuals. It goes to the principal. It goes to the chief equity officer. It goes to the supervisor of that particular principal, and goes to our parent advocate, like Mr. Duncan mentioned. Those individuals, specifically the parent advocate, is going to work with the parent as he or she works their way through the process, going to be there to answer any questions he or she may have, along with the chief equity officer that will walk them from literally step 1 to the end of that process. Now, that process has one more step than this one right here. The process that when you go online will be, I go try to get it taken care of, level 1 at the school. Then I would go to the principal supervisor, then to the director of academics, then to the executive team. From the executive team, it would go to the superintendent, and then could make its way finally to the board on those particular issues related to race, etc., for those complaints. The process we have outlined here is not that process, the one that is online.
All right, anybody have any questions on this one?
Call for question.
Call a question. Ms. Cindy? Has everybody voted?
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Moving on to B, consider approval of revisions to policy JCDA, Student Code of Conduct. Mr. Jinko, you can put your hat on now.
Thank you, ma'am. This is going to be the tip of the iceberg. We will be coming back in July with some substantial verbiage change related to the Student Code of Conduct. But one of our first recommendations to you tonight is where on page where it starts the level consequences related to bus discipline. Okay, we're coming to you with some changes related to the number of days, et cetera, that the individual is going to be off the bus, and a review and a submission for a review to the student assistance team. If I can use the analogy of when a child has a discipline issue, whether it's in the classroom or on the bus, it's the check engine light. Something's going on. So now what we want to do is we want to make a more conscious effort to find out what that issue is, get the individual the assistance that he or she needs, and maybe even some outside counseling for the family and the particular child. And those changes are referenced right here related to the bus discipline.
Call from,
I have
One more? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Just a few more things. On the next page, we start using the verbiage of our discipline review committee. That is going to take the place of the hearing officer. So we're going to use a discipline review committee. It talks about the recommendations for an alternative placement hearing, and that's where that committee will come into effect. And I think those are the changes.
Jinko, one question on the level 3.
I'm going to make a motion first.
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Now,
And I know we can pick apart these all day long, but just the first thing that jumped out at me was the tobacco and the vaping. It just seems like that's a level 3. There is no, there's not a step 1, 2, or 3. It's a level 3 consequences. So, and I know we're trying to encourage people not to vape and not to use tobacco products, obviously. But it just seems like to me, and I'm usually on the opposite end of this argument, it just seems like that's real drastic. For like a first offense, vaping, it's a level 3.
The vaping will, when we come back with the student code of conduct to revamp, we have changed our vaping policy. So if I'm vaping on the bus, then I'm going to follow that. We have a specific vaping policy related to a first offense, second offense, and third offense.
Not that I'm for it, by no
sir.
means, and I agree that we don't need to do
and
it.
just to give you a little sneak preview, what we're going to do is we're going to get some parental involvement, show some videos from the safe schools, catch your breath type things,
Yeah, I just want there to be
and go
some
through a
steps
SAT
involved.
process.
Okay.
So because this is, I was thinking that should maybe be a level 2 as well, at least for first offense. But because it's listed on level 3, it's not necessarily that they're going to be removed from the bus permanently just until we can have some type of hearing.
When, let's say Ron Jinko's vaping on the bus and that bus driver turns in the referral on Ron, the school administrator is going to see Ron was vaping. They're going to go to the vaping policy and use those consequences of the vaping policy.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Call for a vote, Ms. Cindy.
Voting is open.
While we're voting, was this discussed with the transportation people? I
Yes.
mean, I feel like they needed to be a part of this conversation if they hadn't been, before we pass this fully.
We will in-service the bus drivers and
Well, I mean, the people in charge of the bus people, the transportation director or supervisor.
well, yes, ma'am. The school administration makes the final decision related to discipline, and
But I mean, us making this major change from 5 days, from 10 days to 5 days and 30 to 15,
yes, ma'am.
that the person that's in charge of the transportation department should have an opportunity to discuss this.
She's aware of the changes. Yes, ma'am.
Voting is closed. Motion passes with Mr. Duncan voting no.
All right, moving on to C. Consider approval of the revision to policy JCDAE, student use of electronic devices.
First page, the change is just a modernization and adding the smart watches instead of camera watches. And on page 2 is the recommendation changes related to first offense, second offense, and third or subsequent offenses if a child is caught with a cell phone on campus.
Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Ms. Jane, a second.
Give me a minute, Ms. Robin.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to refer back to the day we had our disciplinary meeting up here in the big committee that was here. The recommendation was to keep the 3 days, but not have it split. So if you were off, if your phone was taken 3 days, then it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It wasn't Friday and then bring it back and take it back another 2 days or the holidays. So I'm not sure how we ended up with just saying, let's take the phone this morning and this afternoon you get it back. I mean, what was the rationale in that?
The rationale was that the cell phones are such a big part of society, and sometimes this is the only contact that families have with that particular child, or that particular child has to get in touch with someone. So that was the thought process of inconveniencing the parent or guardian, getting them up here. Let's get a contract to find out what's going on, to make sure you know this is the first time, this is what's going to happen the second time, this is what's going to happen the third time. We need to find out a way that we can work with this. And that was the rationale behind it.
I'm going to interject. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Because we all know that cell phones are a major distraction in our schools, a major disruption with behavior. I mean, you know, some schools have green zones, red zones. I'm not sure that works. I think they still sneak and use it, but I just hope that we'll be consistent on all campuses, which is what our goal has been forever, to try to get our school campuses consistent, equitable for all rules and regulations. So I think the more we give, the more they're going to take advantage myself.
That's actually, I was going to add that just now. I was going to ask administration, is there a plan to establish green zones parish-wide? I know it's practiced at some schools and not at others. Is that something that you guys plan on implementing?
Yeah, that's going to be part of July's code of conduct that we're going to bring back to y'all. This is sort of the overall policy, general. Then there's the details, which will be like a book that will come back before y'all in July for approval.
Okay. Just to interject something, and this is more of a statement than a question. I spoke to two very educated individuals that are moving here to Louisiana. We were kind of discussing the cell phone usage, and They don't come from far away, just Arkansas. But as a practice in their school systems, they have the green zone practice. It's called something different. But they said, we're fighting a losing battle if we continue to try to eliminate them altogether. And so basically, after I was kind of not necessarily for this, and then after I spoke to them, this almost spells out exactly what it is that they're doing with a combination of green zones. But I like the fact that the parent has to be inconvenienced and go to campus. And we're not charging them $15 anymore to pick it up. That's not an equitable practice. So anyway, just wanted to point that out, that we're not the only one that's discussing an option like this.
Anyone else? Call for a vote, Ms. Cindy.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes with Mr. Mingus voting no.
Consider approval of revision to policy JCDB, student dress code.
I know the excitement for this topic has just been building, and everyone has been waiting for this unveiled since the last time we met related to this. So with no further ado, here it is in front of you. Changes start on page 2. With the green section up top, and then the hairstyles, facial hair, hair color, and then number 7, jumpers and skirts in pre-K to 4.
All right, let's just start voting on this. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right. I'll make a motion to, well, I guess first we got to get the whole thing on, right? And then we can start doing amendments. So,
Correct.
So let's, I guess, first put a motion on the table to adopt the administration's recommendation.
I'll second that.
And then, all right, moving to amendments. I'll move to amend the administration's recommendation to delete the changes proposed on number 3 entitled hairstyles.
I'll second that.
Call the question. We've talked about this for
Can you,
3 years.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you amended it to.
Just,
To take it out?
just don't make any
Don't amend it.
changes. Leave it the way we did last year.
For all of number 3,
Yeah, so it would just read just like it did last year, which is,
Hairstyles and mustaches.
hairstyles and mustaches shall be clean and neatly groomed and shall not distract from the learning environment, nor be a safety factor for any of the school's curricular offerings. Neatly groomed facial hair will be allowed only with a doctor's prescription or recommendation. Hair may not be dyed any color other than a naturally occurring color. No green, pink, red, blue, purple, etc. Any hairstyles that distract from the unique environment of a school shall be dealt with by the principal or his or her designee of that school. So like I said, my motion is that we leave it the way we had it last year.
The administration's recommendation is cleaning up that as far as hairstyles, facial hair, hair color. It's taking out the neatly groomed stuff, and it's taking out the doctor's prescription and recommendation, basically.
Right.
And specifically calling out colors. Is that right?
And,
Okay, but this,
just to interject here, is mainly if the administration of that school determines that it's a distraction of the learning environment, then they would deal with that student with addressing that issue. That was after lengthy discussion about it, the deterrent is it a that's the question. Is it a distraction?
Let the principal.
And if it is, then they have a basis to address that with that student and parent.
And just, and so look, and we've debated this thing every year for the last, I don't know how many years, and the notion of letting the school administration make the decision is one of the things we've debated in the past. Of course, my position on that is that's not a policy. You know, if your policy is just let the school administration decide, that's not a policy that we need to weigh in on at all, right? So we either need to give them direction on what our policy is or not, you know, but to say that it's up to the principal to determine whether it distracts from the learning environment.
But we are giving that principal
Or safety.
direction.
But the guideline. the
There's
guideline in there-
no, it just says, if this is adopted, you know, we're not putting any restrictions in on facial hair or hair color, and we're just saying, principal, you decide whether this student's, in your school, and under, in your discretion, does this particular student's hairstyle distract from the learning environment? What that's gonna get us subjected to is a call from, you know, Billy at Sumner, who got in trouble for having a beard, but then he looked on Facebook and saw that Billy down in Ponchatoula had the same exact beard and won the Student of the Year award that month, which is something that happens already, by the way, when we just have principals who decide to ignore our policy as it relates to facial hair. But now they will have the cover of a policy that says, well, it's up to the principal. So my position is we either have a policy or we don't.
Well, I just feel like too, we went back and forth on facial hair, and we didn't have it, then we had it, then the principals came back to us and asked us to please, it was just more trouble trying to patrol it. Please go back to no facial hair again, and that's what we did, and then now it's being proposed, well, let's just change it again. So it's no wonder that people are not following the rules, because every year we're changing the rules, and I just think that's terrible. I think that if we don't have consistency, again, I'm repeating that again, I just said it a minute ago, consistency across the parish is what our goal has been forever. And then if we just say, well, whatever you want to do on your campus is okay, but it's not okay on the other campus, it's just not fair and equitable across the parish. And I just think we need to stick with a more standard style of what we've been doing all these years, and stick to something for a while instead of changing it back and forth.
Yeah, I agree. I like the language it had before. I like to leave it the same.
And look, and I will tell you again, if we don't leave it the same, then my next motion is just going to be delete number 3 altogether. But we just don't have a policy on hairstyle. That to me is better. But to leave it up to the principal to say, at Sumner, this hairstyle is totally fine, but at Ponchatoula, it's not. I don't think we ought to be able. I don't. That just
What they're determining is not whether or not something looks good. What they're determining is if it's a distraction.
But
in their discretion.
their opinion.
Subjective.
I know, but they are the principal. We give them that authority.
Let's just call it.
All right.
Is there a way we can come and meet in the middle here? Because I think the guy's name was Graham Mizell. In our meeting, he said, he looked at me and he's like, right now I'd get suspended for what you have on your face. And he pointed at me, or something along the lines of that. So Jerry and I, if we had to follow this policy, would have to leave the meeting right now. So neatly groomed facial hair, I feel, should be allowed. However, if you wanted to come to an agreement on hair color and eliminate some of these colors that are not naturally occurring, and I think maybe we can just add in a word or two there. But I just noticed that it scratches out the sentence that says that facial hair can be neatly groomed with the doctor's excuse, but that's not really an equitable practice if you make a child go to the doctor and bring back an excuse because he has something wrong and he can't shave. And so that's not an equitable practice either. So I like the way this is written, with the exception of maybe we can add in that the hair color has to be naturally occurring.
Well, let's vote on First Amendment first, then we'll see whether we have that.
And of course, Glenn, I know you're ready to vote, but let me say as well, in addition to that I'm wearing a beard today because I have a medical condition. And I've had it since I was a kid. Since I started to grow a beard, I've had that condition. And this beard is the only thing that promotes my maximum health as far as the skin on my face is concerned. So I know that it's common, more common, among African-American men. Yeah, and it's a condition called pseudofolliculitis. The hair grows underneath the skin, and you cannot sanitize hair. And so it creates an infection. So, I think that it is, I think that Trent's suggestion is reasonable. You know, if there are some some conditions based on hair color, in this one portion of this amendment, but I do think that trimmed facial hair should be a part of this amendment. I think we should
So
be
with or without, well, so, are you saying with a doctor's prescription or without?
I agree with Trent that it does challenge it. The ethical practices. So
Right.
force a person to go and get a medical excuse from a doctor.
I will point out too, Jerry, in the military, and you guys may have encountered this as well, a lot of African-American young men had the issues with shaving, and they'd have to make it through basic in pain. Then when they got to AIT, they can see a physician and say, all right, let this guy, give him a shaving profile. He doesn't have to shave daily.
As long as.
So that's kind of what I was referring to.
I did a full tour in the Marine Corps with the beard.
But it had to be neatly groomed.
It had to be
Quarter of an inch. I've got 17 people.
quarter of an inch.
So anyway, let's vote on the amendment. The amendment right now is to. well,
Keep number 3 the way it was originally. Is the
Motion to amend to delete the changes proposed in number 3 regarding hairstyles and for it to remain the same.
Yeah, that's the current motion.
Ms. Abrams?
Call for a vote, Ms. Cindy? Oh, we already had a first motion, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
we're gonna call for a vote.
So
this is on the first?
Motion again?
This will just
Please.
go back to like it was before.
So,
Motion
Oh,
to,
okay, right.
which would still allow neatly groomed facial hair with a doctor's prescription.
no, that wasn't, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was,
Voting is open.
And we get to do this again, we go back to the board too.
Oh, yeah, when we
Yeah.
have Joey here.
Any questions that I get, I'm gonna
Voting
tell
is
them.
closed.
Darby's
Motion
here.
fails.
They can call her.
Okay. Well, can you put the
Yes,
vote,
yes.
the vote up?
I'm trying to.
All right. I have another motion. Move to amend number 3 to read as follows.
Okay.
Hairstyles, comma, facial hair, comma, and hair color shall not distract from the learning environment nor be a safety factor for any of the school's curricular offerings. Neatly groomed facial hair will be allowed, period. Hair may not be dyed any color other than a naturally occurring color, period. Any hairstyles, facial hair or hair color that distracts from the unique environment of a school shall be dealt with by the principal or his or her designee of that school, period.
Did I get all that?
You want me to read it again?
I do a little slower, please, Mr. Duncan.
Okay. See if I read it the same way I did just a minute ago. So it's,
the whole first sentence.
yeah, the whole first sentence, including what was struck through.
Right.
Okay.
the next sentence will end at
Allowed.
the word allowed. So neatly groomed facial hair will be allowed, period.
Okay.
Correct.
And then
Hair,
hair may not be dyed any other color will remain, other than naturally occurring colors,
period.
period.
No green, pink, purple.
Yeah, I just, it just naturally occurring colors.
Okay.
Yep, and then the last sentence
Last sentence would state,
with the green sections.
Second.
Okay, and so you're saying that will be dealt with by the principal?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Leaving that
that's, no, that stays in, just like it's,
You still got guidelines, you still, naturally coloring hair is not pink, red, or blue, or purple,
and you can have facial hair as long as it's naturally, neatly groomed
and natural color,
and natural color, and you don't have
not
to get
just
a
any
doctor's
color
note.
you
at all.
don't need a doctor's excuse.
So natural occurring hair.
In other words, Robin, no, a natural color of your hair, like you have gray hair, I have blonde, I have brown hair, but it's highlighted blonde, that's natural, that.
Well, that's not natural. Your hair's not natural.
That's
Mine's natural.
But that's a natural color of a hair, it's not,
And this,
it's not
Can it occur
purple.
naturally? So it doesn't have to be your natural color, it can be
Naturally occurring
anybody,
color,
can it naturally occur? So nothing like a, yeah,
Like a
hot pink.
nothing hot pink or orange.
And the principal should naturally occurring, so you don't have to list the colors, they should be aware that that is not a natural hair color. I just think it distracts, it's awfully distracting, I don't care where you go.
Well, I just went into an office just recently.
Let me ask you a
Ron.
question.
does that stay in there, facial hair? Does that stay in there?
When it comes down to the question of distracting, who are we considering this distraction being made to?
Other
Other students.
Faculty, other
other
students?
students.
Okay, so how do we classify what is distracting to the student?
The only guidelines we're putting in there is that it's a naturally occurring hair color.
We're sitting here as adults. We, you know, I think that if my daughter wanted to wear blue hair or pink hair, and she has worn blue hair, pink hair, and green hair. The only thing that I was concerned about was her health and well-being and her emotional stability. So, personally, I don't have a problem with pink hair, or blue hair, or green hair. I consider that we have far greater, fires to extinguish. And so we add another element for rebellion in our students. The more restrictions we place on them, no matter what restriction it is, it adds another factor for rebellion, which is high among our children today. We have a great wave of the spirit of rebellion going on, and we can see that every day. And that's why our alternative school is full.
And Jerry, I think you can make that argument about almost
Anything.
every element of the dress code. You could make the same argument as,
I agree.
so I just don't know, and this is why I hate this.
I know it's not a conversation any of us want to have, but we don't have a choice.
Right, but we gotta have some, you gotta put the line somewhere.
Why?
Or you
Why
don't,
do
or
that?
don't.
No, listen. I'm
Let them wear whatever they want, do whatever they want. It sounds
because I
like-
want to understand the critical issue this creates. When a child going through things, it basically is an indication that child probably needs some counseling. And by forcing them to change the color of their hair without addressing the issue, we don't resolve that. We don't address that.
We stopping them from changing their hair.
My whole thing is, this is a new generation. These are I've been going into offices where kids have pink hair or purple hair or strips in their hair. Do they not allow this if you go into a courtroom? Do they say, you're an attorney, you can't have that in your hair? No, they don't. Some jobs are going to tell you you can, some jobs are going to tell you you can't. I don't find that is a distraction. They still can learn, a teacher still can teach, and kids around them, sitting around them, don't have an issue with their hair being red or purple or whatever other color, because they're going to learn just as well. I just don't have a problem with this. I feel like we're beating a horse that doesn't need to be beaten, really. I really do. I just think this is something that's trivial, and we need to move on to something that's more important.
I understand what you're saying, you don't think it's distracting, but I've already brought it up to you before. If somebody sitting in the back of this room comes, or if this room is full of everybody and then you have somebody with bright yellow hair in the back, your eyes are going to go there. It's just kind of distracting. Next week, we might have a kid, they decide they don't like yellow hair, they want blue hair. Then the kids are talking about it, and then the teacher's trying to teach, and the kids are talking about, oh, why you got blue hair this week? Why you have yellow hair? It's just another layer of something that's going to keep the kids from concentrating. If you have a rule, you just have naturally colored hair, then they're not going to be doing all that to cause other disruptions.
All right, y'all asked me to put a compromise position forward. I put it forward. Call the question.
All right, let's call the question on his amendment.
Before we vote on this amendment, should we put no more than a quarter-inch facial hair, just to eliminate the issue of having a dynasty?
Well, then who's going to measure
I
it?
will accept the friendly amendment that it will be, that neatly groomed is defined as quarter-inch facial hair.
Okay.
Yes, put that in there.
I'm just asking.
Yes, I don't know where, I'm fine with
Look
that.
at it and see.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, we're going to have to battle that out next year. so.
Yes.
It's a quarter inch.
We do it. I mean, I have to check the guys.
So where it says neatly groomed facial hair, put in parentheses, quarter-inch. Yeah, there you go. And so that's the compromise motion. And that's with the friendly amendment.
And that was a
And call the
friendly second by Ms. Rose.
Yeah.
Did you call the question, Ms. Rogers?
I called the
We
question.
did.
Thank you.
I think we did.
Voting is open.
You picked the right meeting to come to me with.
I'm just going to say, while I'm sitting here, I've received 3 text messages from teachers and principals saying that they could care less about hair color.
Well, those 3 are important.
I'm just
Glad
saying.
that they did that. I get a lot,
Next.
principals begging me, please don't go to colored hair. So, I mean, we get all opinions, everybody's is important.
Huh? Yeah, I did.
I think I might have voted for you instead of James.
No.
Voting is closed. Motion passes with Ms. Abrams, Mr. Moore, and Ms. Richards voting no.
Great. All right, moving on.
All right.
Have,
Your next one,
Was that
Mr.
face?
We're going to move, are we moving on to to E?
hold on.
No, we gotta
Okay.
go
Go on 1 through 12.
face covering.
I was making sure Mr. Duncan didn't have any more,
Going
wanted to revise there.
Number 7, Mr. Jenko, number 7 on your list?
Yes, ma'am, but if, the way I understood it is a question was called, and now we're gonna go through the issues and address them.
Yeah, of number 7.
Number 7 would be the length of jumpers and skirts in pre-K to 4 shall be knee length or below.
So we're doing only jumpers and skirts for pre-K to 4. Above 4 will have no jumpers or skirts.
Yes.
Yeah, that come later on down the
Yeah,
list here.
well,
but-
just so we got to vote on that one.
I'm for that.
I'll make a motion to accept number 7. recommendation?
you don't-
Is that
we
what
don't
We don't have to make a
Just need a
motion, we
motion.
just gotta decide if we wanna change anything in the rest of
we
it.
gonna
Okay,
leave,
Face
okay,
covering.
okay.
we're gonna leave that one as written.
Okay.
I don't have any other amendments.
Okay, call for question.
Call for question.
Okay, so,
As amended.
I'm sorry, under jumpers then, a little further down, option to wear pre-K, it says pre-K to 12, and it says jumpers with skirts and stuff will be allowed. It's almost leaving it like it's a pre-K to 12 on that line, or am I reading that wrong? Got to jump down to the next line to double check it. See, on the one that says jumpers, optional to wear pre-K to 12 in khaki or navy color twill only. Jumpers with skirts or shorts must follow the policy below.
Yeah, it should say pre-K to 4, right? So we would, so the administration's asking to amend that as part of y'all's recommendation, right?
To 4, pre-K to
Pre-K
4
to
on that.
4.
where
Only
jumper
pre-K
line.
through fourth grade would be able to wear a jumper or a skirt.
Is that right,
Pre-K
Mr.
4,
Dixon?
not pre-K through 12.
Yeah.
So that's an administrative correction. Did you see anything else?
I don't see anything else. We'll call to question, Miss Cindy.
Move to approve the administration's recommendation as amended.
Wait. What about the t-shirts on Friday?
Oh, you want to do something?
Last page.
Last page, we had talked about in that discipline meeting, allowing the t-shirts, school spirit t-shirt on Friday, but just like not just any spirit t-shirt, but like try to have a uniform spirit shirt is what we had talked about, Ms. Stilly. In other words, they don't go to Walmart and buy just any wolf shirt or any, it has to be a school-approved spirit shirt, not just any PHS shirt. Because 40 people sell Ponchatoula shirts. It doesn't mean that they're a kid that belongs on school campus.
I understand what you're saying, but I mean, I wouldn't recommend that because I think it may be more difficult for some kids to get those school, it's an access, sort of an access to being able to buy those. So
But then it's kind of a safety issue then if you have any
No.
style shirt on Friday that anybody.
no,
can
it would
go
be
to
a
Walmart
spirit shirt, and it says, I believe it says approved by the principal.
Approved by the
If approved by.
Yeah. Sorry. I didn't mean-
I'm saying it's not like a uniform at all. It's just like anybody could be on campus in any spirit shirt and you may or may not know they're a student or not. Or,
Well, typically a spirit shirt would be the school color, and would have their mascot on it, or something like. That's what I would imagine. Now, whether they bought it from Walmart or the school or a t-shirt shop, I mean, that's a board decision. I mean, I don't think I don't think we recommend that. And I think the principal would, be sure to explain what would be acceptable. But I would say if it's a school color, if the shirt is a school color, has the mascot, some of the kids have Star Student t-shirts. They're school color. They have the mascot on it, and it may have, I'm a Star Student. And so I wouldn't want to, not allow those. So just something to think about.
I'm kind of with Rose on this. I think it should be amended to say students may wear uniform pants and school-approved spirit shirts on Friday, approved by the principal. And the only reason I think that is, I'm not trying to be mean, but I think it's a safety issue. If somebody can go to Walmart and pick up a green shirt or that says PHS, and we don't know if they're a student or not, I think it should come from the school.
it could be
Is that a
club
motion?
fundraisers.
Is that a motion?
I make a motion that we amend it to say school-approved spirit shirt.
Second?
Second.
School approved spirit shirt.
I don't know. I just feel like the reason we have uniforms is for a very specific reason. And the reason you only had twice per year was for a very specific reason. And now we're just gonna say every Friday we're gonna wear a t-shirt. It's
I would
against,
like to
it's
say
not
there is
secure.
there is no restrictions placed on anybody for going to a store and purchasing a school uniform. If we're concerned about someone coming on campus with a school uniform on, anybody can purchase a school uniform.
you're right.
We have them have them tags.
And ID.
Now, if you,
Got
now,
them
now, if you want,
IDs.
there you go. If you're worried about it, then the school ID is the issue.
All right, so there's a motion and a
It's not a
second to
t-shirt.
amend that to say what you said?
Call the question.
1 second,
But I-
Ms.
I
Sutton
have-
said.
Okay, is this?
No, go ahead.
No, what is it? Time for me to
Just while we're having this discussion, a school-approved shirt can be a club shirt, a football jersey, whatever the case happens to be. It opens the door for a whole lot of options, but it also closes the door on any gray area, green tank tops from wherever, you know, it's just kind of, the principal's responsible for approving what kind of shirt it is. And then there's a policy in addition to that, so that's the reasoning behind it.
Yeah. Okay, I have no argument with that. My
I seconded it. I mean, the schools could take an opportunity to do it, the clubs as a fundraiser or something.
Students
I
may wear
mean,
uniform pants and school-approved spirit shirts. So whatever the school approves for spirit shirts
Yep.
on Friday.
Yep. So now we're ready for the vote on the amendment?
Call to vote. Call to vote on the amendment.
There we go.
Voting is open.
So we're voting now on
Just to allow that amendment,
Just that one
that one
sentence.
amendment.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, do we have a motion to accept the rest of the recommendations?
As amended, I guess, ma'am.
Ms. Janice had something.
Second.
I just want some clarity and some understanding, because I had where my little granddaughter, she's in elementary, and the problem was I kept getting called to school for her not having on a belt, and she's tall and her waistline is like this, so if you get her pants, you have to either take them up and get them taken up, and then if she doesn't have a belt, then her pants are sliding down. Well, I went to the store and I found these joggers. I guess that's what they're called. They may not be joggers. So.
The elastic waist.
The elastic waist, and that worked. But because it's, what I did was I bought a larger size and then I just cut the bottoms off and hemmed. But what is our rule? I mean, why are joggers bad? I guess that's what I'm asking.
I think it's a certain age under that doesn't have to wear a belt. And then if they don't have belt loops, they don't have to wear a belt either.
I don't, where does it, I don't
think there
we
is
address
any belt
joggers,
requirement.
do we?
Mm-hmm.
I see jumpers.
Yeah, it said joggers.
Pants must.
The little kids don't have to have a belt. Belts are mandatory for middle school, junior high, and high school
But my
age
concern
students.
is the joggers, because they're just perfect for the little kids, because you don't have to worry about the belt, you don't have to worry about them falling down, you don't have to,
Underpants, I believe it's on.
Look, I would like to know
Page
your
2.
recommendation.
I don't know what a jogger is. I need a definition of
see,
what a
that's what I was
jogger
trying to
is.
say, okay, is
I didn't
that
know
what a
jumper
jogger
was
is?
till about 5 minutes ago, so.
Appropriate size, no sagging, no oversized pants, no wide leg.
But the joggers are just
jogging
kind of
pants, but I don't think
perfect
that's what you're
because
talking about.
Yeah,
if
like
even the big
K2.
ones.
Joggers is like a sweatpant, but
Not the
cloth.
sweat,
They're
yeah.
cloth, like they're cloth machine.
No. They're actually khaki. They're the
But I'm saying they're cloth. They're not like sweatpants, but they're
No,
made
right.
like a sweatpant. Yeah, with the elastic on the bottom.
Yeah,
You want to delete that word?
yeah, they're
They're
really
khaki.
nice. They're
Make-
khaki. They're
Make a
really,
motion.
really nice.
Motion, move to delete the word jogger.
Okay,
Huh? Do it, I'll second.
okay, okay.
I have a former teacher in my ear from somewhere. It says the issue is the twill.
The-
When it says khaki or navy twill, jogger,
Yeah,
They're not, what?
it's like a windsuit almost pants. Pants.
No. They're khaki,
These
like,
are not jogging pants.
They're not
I think that's
jogging
what we're
pants.
having a-
They're
khaki.
But if she can find joggers that are twill or khaki, would that be acceptable? So,
It's a khaki
It's
material.
a khaki material.
Khaki is not a material, khaki is a color.
Oh, the
Twill is a material.
The twill,
Twill.
they look the same as the uniform pants.
Y'all lost me.
My daughter has something, she's more
Yeah,
involved.
I think so. I think what Ms. Anderson's saying is, it says if they're not, you can't wear the joggers if they're not twill, right? Isn't that what it's?
but the way this policy reads is that if she finds joggers
Okay, I got you.
that are khaki and navy or navy twill, then they would still be excluded because
Right.
because of whatever the definition of joggers are. And I have no
Right.
idea what the definition of joggers are. I don't know that anybody does. So, jogging pants.
See, but they're
Yeah,
not.
like-
Let's eliminate joggers from the policy.
Because we still have no sweatpants, which is
Right,
what
no
you're
sweatpants.
talking about.
Those are
eliminate
sweatpants.
joggers.
These-
That's, no, but what I'm saying is no, this still says no sweatpants. She just wants to delete the word joggers. So
Yeah.
are you moving to delete
Yes.
the word joggers?
I'm moving to delete the word joggers.
Second. Call the question.
If you take out, well,
If you take out joggers,
they,
I can guarantee they're gonna come with elastic in the bottom of
Yeah, they
those
are.
pants.
Yeah,
Because
they
joggers are
are. Yeah.
considered like a jogging
Like a-
suit, like a windsuit.
it's like a windsuit, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, you would like to give
Okay.
evidence to the court?
Good.
You'd like to enter evidence?
But still tell me what's wrong with it.
Okay.
No, I know what you're talking about.
But what's wrong?
No, the twill ones, nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm about.
I'm fine with that.
She's saying to allow those without cutting them off.
I'm fine with that. I don't care.
I guess we would
Without
need to make sure we show what that is supposed to look like, and it can only be for elementary school.
I already saw it. Thank you.
All right, call the question. Thank you for that.
All right, call the question,
Yeah,
Miss
that's
Cindy,
a lot of kids wearing, that's real popular in town.
Voting is open.
to take out the word jogger.
Yeah.
I'm only voting for this if this is your last thing on this policy.
Now, is that for all ages or just
Yeah, all ages.
kindergarten through
Yeah,
fourth?
that's- yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with it.
If they come, they
What's-
probably, most of them are made out of some kind of a real material.
It still has to meet the other
Yeah.
criteria
Yeah,
under
it's
the
a
word
real,
pants.
it's, you know.
She's
I
voting
don't know
yes.
what, yes.
Yes.
But I don't know why mine is not coming up. Yes.
Voting is closed.
We have you turned off.
Yeah, that's, Brett did
All
it.
right.
All right, do we have any other,
Call
can
the
we call
on
question
the,
on it as it is with all the revisions?
As amended.
In jail.
Call the question, Miss Cindy.
Voting is open.
What did you want it to say, Darby? No policy?
She wants some public input, I believe.
That's right.
No dress code? Look, you and my daughter both would be here with no dress code. Like, that's what
A
my.
bunch of them.
What are
no
you upset
telling
about
what we would
losing?
have on campus.
Oh, with, yeah. Well,
Can't
y'all,
wear skirt now.
And you've got color in your hair.
I can take pencil out, but
No skirts. That's been,
I wish that would have.
Ms. Richards? Ms. Richards, how do you
Yes.
vote?
Kind of like the
My vote
skirts.
didn't come up, I don't think.
I do too. That's been a
mine did.
bad problem.
Yeah, look, you already voted. Yeah. No, it
Yeah,
says
they
red.
they can't do it. They can't,
Change your vote.
they can't do it.
So you must have voted.
Guys think
I voted on the amendment, I don't remember it
I
coming
thought I
up.
voted. Didn't we all vote? Is mine voted?
Mr. Moore?
Yeah, I think we did. That was,
It might have been
Oh,
different.
I did it again, Mr. Moore, I'm so
Give me a
sorry.
vote. Motion to cover E and F at the same time.
Voting is closed, motion passes unanimously.
All right, moving on to E, consider
Can we
approval.
reconsider my last year's motion that we only do dress code like every other year?
yeah. make
Every
that
5
motion.
years. It can only come before us every 5 years.
How about until we all get off the
Yeah.
board? consider approval of the revision to JS, student fees, fines, charges, and JS-P, student fees, fines, and charges. Mr. Jeff.
We ask that you adopt this as presented. Just being quick. Now, this is, one of the things that we're doing here is adding the word charges, and it's because there's a technicality to that word. There is the Office of Debt Recovery, which the state allows you to potentially be able to recover debt, but it specifically excludes student fees. We are not talking about student fees. These are charges for damages to equipment. So it would give us the opportunity to be able to use the Office of Debt Collection to be able to recover fees for damaged technology.
So move.
Second.
Any questions? Call for a vote, Ms. Cindy.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, moving on to F, consider approval of the revisions to policy KJ, school community organization relations.
Motion to
Oh,
adopt.
wait, we accepted
Yes.
both of those things a while ago? Appendix A?
Yes.
Yes,
We voted on both of them.
yes.
Oh, I thought you were just doing the first one.
No.
No, it was both, all in one.
So can we go back then? Let me ask a question. On that says we're collection method, fees are collected at a school level. Now it says district level. So every school is not going to take their own fees up? That's going to come through a district level? I'm going to need an explanation.
Yes, okay. So the plan is, one, we want to get everybody uniform and doing the same thing. Y'all, you passed a policy previously that had this $15 and $20, and we had schools all over the place collecting different amounts for different reasons. What we want to do is instead of the schools having to collect the fees, the district is going to collect the fees, but we're going to advance the schools 75% of their student population fees, whether we as the district collect it or not. They're going to get their money.
But I'm
And then
saying, how are you going to take it up, I guess is my
Kev.
question.
Kev, the owner.
So a parent's not going to send the money to the school?
So the teachers will not have to sit there and count cash from students, and Johnny paid and Susie
So what if
didn't,
a
and
kid brings a check? You're not going to take a check?
if they bring,
They can take a check. The check can easily be run through CAP the same way that you can. What we're trying to do is we're trying to push push parents to pay electronically,
Take
the
your
same
phone
way
and
they
pay
pay
it.
school lunches or anything else. The CAP system is making everything electronic. We've already talked to our principals today, and then, the school financial clerks are going to be trained in CAP in July. So we're pushing to go towards where we're not collecting cash. But until then, there may be some collection of cash, and that collection of cash will be done by the school account clerks.
So there will be a way to collect cash if a family has to pay by
Yes.
cash, but
the school's just not responsible for having to keep up with all of it.
we're trying to minimize cash payments as much as we can.
Didn't we discuss this at the last meeting? Because we're trying to take it from the student bringing the cash to the teacher having to write a receipt, then the teacher bringing it to the office having to write her receipt. We're trying to get that cash flow out of there and just keep it where everybody is paying online.
Right.
We're trying to make sure that every single dollar that comes into the schools, it stays in the schools and is used what it's supposed to be used for. And when you have cash cannot make it to the financial account clerk to be deposited. We want to make sure. So we're trying to encourage all parents to use the KEF system. They pay lunches, most of them pay lunches that way anyway. So this is another way,
But-
to use it.
But we do have families that don't have accounts, they don't have credit cards, for whatever reason, and they operate in cash. So we will have a way for those
Yes.
families to still pay
It will
cash.
be the exact same way that they're doing now, writing a receipt. Just the difference is it's going through the KEF system with the financial clerk.
So the parent would go to the financial clerk at the school directly and not
That's
from
what
the
we're
teacher
trying to
then to the financial clerk.
But we're hoping to get a lot of the cash, just not taking cash. Just
Okay.
makes it easier.
So, one more thing, how would the teacher know if the child paid the fee?
They don't. Has nothing to do with the
There's
teacher.
no reason,
The district gonna pay them the money no
it
matter
does not
what.
matter, that
They're gonna
school
pay the
fee
school.
that's being paid is being fronted, that's what we call it, fronted, we're fronting all of the school fees, we're taking the number of students times the 15, or really 10 and 15, multiplying it, fronting and sending those principals that fee, 75% of that calculation in the fall and 25% of that in the spring. And what we're doing, it's called a supply fee, but on the recommendation of Ms. Dilly, we want to say, and we talked to the principals about it today, that that is a teacher supply fee. We're asking principals to take that fee, hopefully, and funnel that money straight to the teachers.
So the teacher doesn't need to know whether a particular student paid, because they're gonna get the same amount of money no matter what.
Okay, that's what I'm,
Every single student is going to be calculated in the calculation of the supply fee. When we say it's collected by the district,
Right, one less thing for the teacher.
yeah, yeah,
yeah, and
okay.
And they will all have a supply fee now that is available to them. They go buy what they need, they bring the receipt to the financial clerk, and they get reimbursed for it. So,
One other question. So what if a student doesn't pay their fee?
the same thing that happens today if a student doesn't pay their fee.
And what is that?
Yeah.
Nothing.
So some can file exemptions, hardships, my understanding, and some don't pay. And you can't turn it into the Office of Debt Collection,
So why do we even have a school fee if we're just going to give it to the school anyway?
Help defray our costs.
Well, we
Recoup
have to,
some of our
we have to have
costs.
the
great
fee.
questions.
I'm just asking.
So the policy, the board policy is $15.20. We're trying to simplify it as much as possible. We're trying to take the economic impact away from the schools that some students pay and some don't, to where each teacher, each class has the same access. And we're also, this is where I was talking about the insurance. You see the word insurance added there. So we will take this money, we'll pay that $76,000 insurance premium out of it. So now your football players, your basketball players, your baseball are not going to be paying 40, 20, 30, whatever they come up with. It's all paid, it's handled, and then the teachers will have money. So we're just trying to simplify it, make it as equitable as possible, and I think it's a real good move.
Okay, so that was voted on. So now we're moving to F.
Did y'all vote on this?
Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did.
Rose
'cause it
came
was-
back to it.
Yes,
Oh, because it was
we
part
did.
of this. I see.
Yeah, I thought you were doing them two, both separate. I didn't realize.
So you need to say something, Steph?
So,
I was just gonna say, many times the principals put stipulations on not being able to go on field trips, or not being able to go to prom, or not being able to do different things like that until those fees are paid. Okay? Those extra things that parents are paying for, they can't be held for graduation, not training, not those kind of things, but those optional things that principals do put to, and that's from the principals that we had today. Because that is not in policy.
But there is a hardship exemption for those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
so Mr. McNeely, when, not part of this, but when y'all get all that settled, we would like a little, in-service as well on that, because we don't really do Kiva or whatever you call it. We've never done that, so at some point,
Would you like an in-service on just that?
I mean, or just that, the whole thing is, yeah, because if people ask us questions, and I hate when we don't know, because it's very difficult. And we do have a lot of questions, about how you're gonna go to cashless and all that. We've been talking about it, so, yeah,
Okay.
later.
Could have joined us today with all the principals.
I know, but nobody,
Would have been fine.
said, so.
All right.
All right, so we're going to move on to F. Consider approval of the revision to policy KJ, School Community Organizations Relations. Mr. Jeff McNeely.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
And so will we get a copy of that school financial handbook, please? Could we get a copy?
Once everything.
Yeah, whatever, 'cause-
We told the principals today that it was just a proposed handbook,
Okay, okay.
Everything would be put online.
But
Okay.
tonight is just policy, so it still has to go to the July 11th for your
Yeah,
adoption.
yeah.
Any sporting event.
So you're just gonna put it online then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. McNeely, on this one, are we really demanding that our booster clubs send the principal a financial report every month on their finances?
Yes, sir.
It's our recommendation based on problems that our internal auditor and our staff have encountered in trying to get information pulled together. And they get a monthly bank statement, so.
Is that sufficient? I mean, so if they present, if that's all they got, you know, that it's a booster club that's half active, or but they get their bank statement, is that sufficient?
It's a report, that's the report they got, that's the
I
report.
mean, this
they
is
got.
saying a full financial records and treasurer's report and receipts and expenditures and copies of bank statements.
Yeah, that says upon request. That's,
It
so
says or upon,
monthly.
it says monthly or upon request.
Or
So that
upon-
means every month, or if I want it twice a month, you gotta give it to me.
So
Correct,
I read
Mayor.
it monthly, or upon the request, the organization shall also basically provide these other, however you like to word that make you feel better.
It's just,
We're not looking to gather more information, we're just trying to make sure that our booster clubs that are using the name of the school system are complying with everything that y'all want them to do.
Yeah. Brett, I'm gonna follow up with this. If I was a parent volunteer and I read this, I'd be like, I'm no longer a parent volunteer.
I'm not doing this.
So
I'm not
that's
gonna be
just,
part of this.
I mean, quarterly, I can get it maybe, or biannually, or whatever, but, so I see where you're coming from. I mean, I got my own finances to deal with, and as a parent volunteer, this is not something that I would be able to undertake for sure. So if is there any length of time that we can possibly shorten this down to?
I'm not opposed to quarterly.
What's that?
I'm not opposed to quarterly.
Make a
Okay.
motion.
Quarterly
Yeah.
or upon request.
Yeah, I would like the upon request, because if we
Then
get
if
into
you
a
have a
situation where a board member calls and says, hey, I've got an allegation that the booster club, whatever, we need to be able to request that information.
Can I suggest, instead of quarterly, can we say each semester or upon request? So every semester they gotta give full reports, or if there's an issue, the principal can ask for it more regularly.
I'm okay with that.
And so you're making a motion, Mr.
Well, it
Duncan?
also says, all of those reports and copies of the bank statement. A while ago, you said, or.
No, I think whatever reports they have, and especially bank statements, because that's that's the main thing that they can't mess with. Go ahead.
Bank statements these days, a lot of times do not provide copies of checks. The reason that we are looking at this is because of misappropriation of funds through booster clubs.
Okay.
And I had principals today that basically was, please do this, please make sure that you're able to see what's being spent out of booster club money because of misappropriation.
So-
Each semester would almost be quarterly, because you're not having to do it for the summer. So we're talking about 2 in 9 months, so, it's every 4.5 months.
And we're demanding that they produce all of their records, including bank statements, upon request.
No, and I have no problem with it, except that a bank statement is not really sufficient, not these days,
Right.
because everybody uses so many electronic debit cards, whatever, that doesn't give you a lot of detail. And what we're looking for is making sure that money that's being put in there is being used in a way that will not come back and hurt you as a board, the principal, Timber Parish,
All right, so the motion is, Mr. Duncan,
Is to change the word monthly to each semester.
And Mr. McNeely, is this for 501c3 groups as well as groups going into the school fund? That's everybody, or this is just the ones going into the school account?
no,
This is
the
all of it.
501.
The ones that are outside of the school account.
The
The ones that are
501c3.
inside of the school accounts,
You're not asking for this?
We have it.
We have.
Oh, okay.
We're the ones who do
We're the
that.
ones that reconcile that every single month. These are independent. These are the ones that use Tangipahoa Parish schools' names, the ones that, are representing us as far as the parish and the district.
But all of this other stuff, the cooperative endeavor agreement is for all groups, 504 or not. And they have to produce their bylaws and all that. Any organization on campus is supposed to produce a bylaws and organization information.
But that's not what this policy applies to.
But it's in, this is in this policy.
But in this policy, that does not state that, and I will be honest with you, I have not read y'all's entire policy manual. Because I think it had been updated last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we did change it, but I was thinking that if they had a club-owned school, that they had to produce that they were truly a club-owned school, whether they were putting their money in our checking account or they're putting their money in their own checking account. They have to prove that they're a legitimate organization or club.
But if you're commingling funds, and when I say commingling, if you're depositing funds into the school account, say your Key Club, we're not requiring Key Club to produce their bylaws and all
Because you've
that,
already got it, okay.
because
They're
the
not
funds are being,
Independent.
They're not an entity.
they're, yeah,
Okay.
they are part of the school. And that's what I explained to the principals today. If the funds go into the school, whether it's PTO, whatever, if they're not independent, those funds can be used by the school.
So
That is the way it works.
here's the paragraph you're talking about, where it says, each organization must decide if they prefer to be an independent organization or operate within the auspices of the school system. If the organization decides to operate within the auspices of the school system, it shall use the school board's federal tax identification number and follow all of our regular proceedings, including the school financial handbook. If the organization decides to be independent, they must sign the applicable cooperative endeavor agreement with the board as developed by the superintendent, and then it goes on to describe all of the other stuff.
Those other things, yeah.
And
All right.
one of which is now going to be that you have to produce all of these records each semester or upon request.
All right, so we had a motion by Mr. Duncan. Did someone second the motion?
Oh, I thought Mr. Westmoreland.
I made the
did it.
motion, he said.
Mr.
Okay,
Duncan
all right,
seconded.
I'm sorry. I knew Mr. Duncan had made some motion. All right, so we have a first and a second. Any other questions? Call for a vote, Miss Cindy.
Is this okay how it reads, Mr. Westmoreland? The motion, how it reads.
Yes for Tom.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Voting is open.
Yes, Miss Cindy?
This is just to
On the amendment.
amendment.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Approve as amended.
Yes.
Mr. Toller?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Is this one mine?
Yes. Mr. Jared, you voted? He's thinking.
voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Move
Right.
to adopt as amended.
Oh, here we go.
Second.
We got a first, got a second. Call for a vote, Miss Cindy.
Who seconded it, Miss?
Mr.
Me.
Trent.
While you're voting. I
Voting
just
is open. I'm sorry.
While you're voting, I just want you to know I believe in a big God. Me and my wife prayed this morning that it would be a miracle if we got out of here before 9 o'clock tonight. And
We're not through.
we close. We close.
Yes, Miss Cindy.
Yes for Tom.
What else can we talk about then?
I want to waive the rules and add 2 other items to the agenda.
Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
He is a big guy.
All right, if there's nothing else to bring before the policy committee, no hair, no skirts, no shoes, no nothing, we adjourn. Go Tigers.
All right, top of the 8th inning is 2-0 LSU.
Okay.
Just in case.
He's-
What are they playing?
You